Hey, this is John from Alloy 211. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Benchmade AFCK Advanced Folding Combat Knife. The AFCK was produced by Benchmade from the late 1990s until the early 2000s, at which point it is discontinued. It was made in a variety of blade configurations, blade materials, handle materials, and lock types. We're not really going to get into the wide variety of different AFCKs that were made, nor are we going to get into the backstory of the knife, because there is a bit of a backstory to the design. This video is more just about taking it apart, cleaning it, and doing all that sort of maintenance stuff. So what we'll do first is I'm going to go ahead and take the full size apart in a moment, and we'll see how it's all put together and all that, and then we'll clean it. And then on the mini, I will show you how to clean it without taking it apart. Now, cleaning it without taking it apart is not going to really clean it all that well, but it will clean it well enough. So, a little bit about these two knives before we get into the disassembly of the larger one. I carried this knife for about 10 years. It is a serrated, partial serration on the blade. It also was a coated blade to begin with. And I did want to point that out, and I want to make the point, I carried this knife for about 10 years and used it heavily for those 10 years. And it worked incredibly well. The only thing I can really complain about, and that's not even really a complaint, you can see back here I had to change to flathead screws from the Torx head screws, but that was more my fault because I was using an improper bit to take it apart and I stripped them out. Which brings me to another good point. If you have what you would call a tactical folder and it uses these Torx headed screws, whether it's a Benchmade or not, a good idea and a good investment is a Benchmade blue box. These are relatively cheap and they have pretty much all with the little Torx head screws or Torx head bits you're going to need for the screws and what you call, I guess, a tactical folder. So, not a bad idea to go ahead and get that Benchmade blue box before you strip out some screws. So, now we'll get into a little bit of specifications. On the mini, it's closed sized as 4 3/8 inches, open size is 7.5 with a 3 1/8 inch blade. This blade is made out of 154 cm. As well as on the full size. Now the full size is 5 1/4 inches closed, 9 inches open, and it's got about a 3 3/4, 3 13/16 inch blade. Both of these being illegal to carry in Chicago. I'll go ahead and move the mini out of the way. We'll go ahead and start taking our full size apart. Now, and grab the right bit because I want to take the tensioner screw out first, which is a T10. This is a T10. Go ahead and just take that out. This is what you use to put tension on the blade. Now, the little Torxes are a T6. And you may notice I'm using my small electronic screwdriver opposed to the Benchmade blue box. And that is because, although I really love the Benchmade blue box, and if you're going to have just one tool for working on knives like this, that's what I would suggest. In this case, it's much easier. It's much easier to use this, especially right at the moment. Hold on. Of course, there has to be some sort of a technical difficulty. You can't just have nice things. Okay, what I had was, this is a two-headed screw in the back side. Started slipping. So I had to put a bit in that side to keep it from slipping. After I get it apart, I will show you what I mean. As to try to show you before I get it apart is going to be a little difficult. Okay. So we have this here. Ooh. Let's go ahead and get that on camera. Then we have this very, very dirty stop right here. Now, as you can see, it does get dirty. That's pretty dirty. Hey, great, I use my knife a lot. but that's dirty. And the reason why I had to get the other bit in the other side is because it started just spinning. Normally it does just turn out. So, but as you can see, the knife is pretty grimy inside. Go ahead and take that bearing out. And there's the blade. And there's the small back bearing. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the clip off as well, and you know, like anything else that you see me take apart on here, make sure that you keep track of your screws. You don't want to lose your screws. Let's get that in there. The clip screws are also a T6. So that's nice. You have commonality between all the assembly screw heads, screw types. Let's see if I can, there we go. Set that over there. As you can see, it's been a while since I've cleaned my knife. I've needed to clean my knife for a little bit. Okay. And some people will say, well, you don't really need to take a knife apart to clean it. And that's true. But as you can see, when you don't take a knife apart to clean it, there's a lot of dirt that you may not get out. So, and to clean it, just going to use a paper towel. Now I also sometimes would just use, say, an old sock or something like that, but I figured I'm making a video, so I use this fancy paper towel. It's got a butterfly and a bee, and I believe that's a dragonfly there. Ooh. So, in order to do this, I'm going to just wipe it off. I'm not actually using any oil or anything like that. I'm just wiping it off, wiping it clean, wiping the grime off. Sometimes I will lightly oil the rag or the paper towel or whatever it is I'm using, but generally I try not to get too much oil or anything else on the inside of my knife, as I don't want it to trap the dirt that we are now removing. You know, you want to make sure you get this back side of the lock. That's always going to get grimy and dirty. Oh, something else I wanted to point out while I had this apart, and this might be kind of hard to tell, and it might just be a little bit of me because of what I do for a living, but I thought it was really interesting the way they have cut these holes. And one of the things Benchmade did before anybody else was they used a laser cutter to cut their side plates, and these are titanium, by the way. So, but if you look, you can see you have this little tiny lead-in line, and then it goes and makes this little tiny circle. It's a bit bigger circle, but still. And that may not seem all that impressive, but it is really impressive, especially when you think about the era in which this knife was made. So, go ahead and scrub this clean a little more. Some people might feel the need to clean it more than that, but since I regularly take my knives apart to clean them, I say regularly, but obviously it's been a while. As you can see, I mean, just especially using a paper towel, because paper towels are a bit abrasive in and of themselves. They really do a fine job of removing the grime without having to use anything else. And you know, and that all depends too on the kind of environment you use your knife in, what kind of grime you're getting on it. Also, whenever you're handling just the blade, especially if your blade is very, very sharp, handle it with care. It can still cut you whether it's in the knife or not. Unlike a gun, a knife is always dangerous. A gun without bullets is just a club, and not a very good club. Another place you want to make sure that you clean is right here. Get that good and clean. I'm actually gonna scrape it out a bit. It is so dirty. As I said, I've needed to clean my knife for a little while now. There we go. That is clean enough. Same thing here, same as I did on the other side. I'm just wiping it down. wiping it down, throwing things around. Little nylon bearing there. I think it's interesting, there are these little pieces of hair that were in my knife. It's like, how do you get little pieces of hair in your knife? I guess I should know, it is my knife. Look at that, that looks like a big pile of strange flat parts. Okay. That needs a little more. That's clean. That's clean. This is one of those videos I only really get one shot to do, because if I start it and I screw it up and I've already cleaned it, then, you know, you'll be like, well, why are you taking your knife apart to clean it? Looks pretty clean to me. But also, it kind of gives you a minute that you're gonna, I mean, I could sit here and put my fingers in front of the camera if you wanted to see me wipe this off. Ooh, look at that, he's wiping that off. It's impressive. Now, if you want to, I mean, this is a technique I like to use. I'll wipe the, there you go, wipe it, there you go. And see, that's a really good technique, just wiping it off. No, I think if you're watching this video and you've gotten to this point where you've taken this knife apart to this extent, I think that you can figure out how to wipe off a piece of metal. If not, then you may want to go back to the beginning of the video and start it over. Reassembly is just reverse of disassembly. And if you look, this has a flat on it on this side, corresponds to a flat right there. Again, there's a little tiny lead end line. And that goes in there. Well, I guess it'd probably help if I put the actual, you know, handle material there in place. There we go. Now that's in there. Well, till I drop it, and then it's not. There we go. Now I will go ahead and put just a little bit of light gun oil here, but I'm just going to wipe that on there. I'm not going to actually even put a drop. I'm just going to kind of wipe it in that area before I put the nylon bearing back in place. There we go. Gonna put the blade in place. Going to put, stop, there we go. You know, I did forget to do something. Of course I forgot to do something. I wanted to also oil this side of the blade a little bit. Not a whole bunch, just a little bit, just to put a little coating there. Do that on both sides of the blade. And then put that in place. There we go. And then the same thing, this side plate, and this goes here, and that goes there, and then this goes here. And go ahead and take our big tensioning screw, go ahead and just hand tighten that in place. I guess I'm covering that all up with my hands. I'm going to go ahead and put this screw in place just to hold everything where it needs to be while I get the other screws in place. About as exciting as watching paint dry. There we go. I'm just gonna put that in there loose. I'm not going to try to tighten that up. Go ahead and put my back screws in. There we go, there's one. There's two. And I'm just using the tip of my finger here to move that around to get it into place. Oop. Okay. And done. And like many things that I have disassembled and reassembled on this channel, do not over tighten. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and, yep, there it is there. Okay, see, and that's why you should probably make sure you put the bearings back in place. So let's go ahead and take her back apart real quick. Only take me a moment. And you guys didn't really get a good shot of that reassembly anyway, so go ahead and give you another one. Okay. And pull that out. There we go. There we go. Well, kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of. I'm going to go ahead and dump my screws out of this, because that doesn't really make it easier to put it back together. Now, put this in place. Grab our tensioner screw again. See, I'm putting the... There we go. There we go. Okay. Putting this screw back in place. Oop, or just knocking it out of place. There we go. You know, and don't cross thread it. Kind of looked like I was cross threading it there, but I wasn't. I was not, and also don't. Okay, slide this in place back here. Whoop. Hey, I almost threw it myself there. That would have been way interesting. There we go. There we go. I'm just going to bump that up. There we go. Okay. Now that I put that back in, so that was really a test for all of you at home. How many of you noticed that I didn't put that back in? Okay. Go ahead and get this one in. There we go. Go ahead and put the clip on. You know, I didn't wipe the clip off. Let's wipe the clip off. If you're cleaning it, you might as well clean the whole thing. Let's go ahead and throw the screws around the table. They're just small and easy to lose. Then drop them. Okay. Just gonna Oop. And then I over tightened it. Okay, there we go. And go ahead and put one in there, one here. Just make sure it's tight. Again, not over tightening it, just making sure that it is tight. And it is tight. Okay, we're good there. Now, we'll go ahead and close it. See, we have too much tension on the blade. So we'll go ahead and back this out a little bit. And that puts me about where I like it. I don't want it to be too loose. Some people keep their knives pretty loose. I don't like my knife to be too loose, but I also don't like it to be too stiff. And usually right about where it's at. So take it in a little bit. Yep. There we go. And that is how you disassemble and clean a Benchmade AFCK. Now, I'll make this a lot quicker. A way you can do this without taking the knife apart, you may want to have some cotton Q-tips that you can take and stick down in here. I mean, this is pretty obvious. You may stick it down in here, move it down through. And see, that was, even though this has been sitting in a drawer, it's still actually pretty dirty. But take a Q-tip, move through the back here, get back here, like so. You can put some oil on your Q-tip and oil down in there. Something else I like to do, if I'm not taking it apart, is I will take a paper towel and I will put it in here. And then I will just pull it through and then kind of bring it out the back. And granted, that wasn't really that dirty to begin with, but as you can see, it pretty well cleans up the inside. And like I said, you're not going to get the kind of clean that you'll get taking it apart, but you'll still get it clean. It won't allow that sort of heavy buildup like was inside of my knife I carry every day. It's a good thing I cleaned it today. It was in desperate need of it. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video and you enjoy some of my other videos, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. And if you found this video informative and helpful in your quest to clean your Benchmade AFCK, I'd appreciate a like. If in the future someone wants to have a video that goes more into the backstory of the Benchmade AFCK knife, I will do that. But like I said, it's kind of convoluted and there's a lot of variety in these knives. So until someone actually wants to see that video, I'm not going to make it. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day.